Minnesota Fighting Vikings edge rushing tandem Daniil, the real deal Hunter, and Za'darius Z-Man Smith are obviously the Vikings 1A and 1A pass rushers, knocking on all the wood. If and when they stay healthy this year in this new scheme, they're going to be one of the best, if not the best, edge rushing tandem in the National Football League. But what about the other guys who get after that quarterback's ass? Because you can never have, well, A, you can never have enough quarterbacks, and B, you can never have enough dudes who get the quarterback. And for second year edge rusher Patrick Jones II, he had a phenomenal preseason game against the Raiders. You absolutely love to see it, man. And I've been a big fan of Patrick Jones, both him and Jalen Twyman coming in from Pitt. I fell in the pit. You fell in the pit. But Patrick Jones coming in as a third rounder last year. Jalen Twyman coming in as a sixth. Love the story. Love to see the Pitt Panthers rising up, man. And Patrick Jones, I think he has a chance. I think he does have a legit chance to be a contributor for the Vikings, as well as maybe a future starter, man. Let's talk about him today. Background, 23 years young, turns 24 in September, 6'5", 261, was a redshirt senior, former three-star recruit from Chesapeake, Virginia, took his talents to Pitt, got after it as a three-year starter as a traditional hand-in-the-dirt defensive end. 2019 breakout season, 8.5 sacks, 62 pressures, 14.9% pressure rate, which is good. It's pretty good. 82.5 PFF grade. 2020, he posted 37 pressures, 9 sacks, consensus All-American, first team All-ACC, and phenomenal. Now, his pro day numbers were a little wonky, except you have to take him with a grain of salt because he had a hamstring injury. So that could be why he fell to the 13th edge rusher off the board. The Vikings made him the third round selection, number 90 overall. And just reading his scouting report from Lance Zierlein, NFL.com. Now, Lance had him projected as a 5th round pick. Please. Overview, linear edge rusher with NFL size and length, but a lack of consistent urgency could hurt his chances. Rude. Jones doesn't play with much of a commanding presence at the point of attack. Well, that's changed, and we need to crank it up in that area, or teams will gear up to run right at him. He has enough rush get-off to occasionally threaten the corner, but will find the sack production much harder to come by if he doesn't improve his hand skill and counters at the top of the rush. Now, what's interesting is what stood out most to me in the Raiders game was Patrick Jones' usage of the hands. So that comes down to technique. That comes down to working with Andre Patterson last year. That comes down to working with Mike Smith, Vikings' new outside linebacker coach this year. So, I mean, Patrick Jones has put in a lot of work. Respect. The physical traits are in place as a 3-4 outside linebacker, but he'll just be a backup unless the intensity and rush skill come around. And what's interesting is Jones, like we mentioned, was a traditional 4-3 hand-in-the-dirt defensive end, and he was even projected here as a 3-4 outside linebacker, just given his size and given his agility. So that makes it really fascinating. So, and the Vikings made him number 90 overall pick last year. As a rookie, played in 9 games, 0 starts, 99 total defensive snaps, 1 pressure, 0 goose egg D'Angelo Russell sacks, but in the preseason, like we mentioned, he did have 4 pressures and created from the left outside linebacker spot that's lined up over right tackle. So he was really creating in the face of the quarterback, and also he created a couple sack opportunities for Amon, for Watts, for T.Y. McGill, and he looked really, really good. And I do think that even though the Vikings edge rusher committee, Daniil, Za'darius are absolute studs, DJ Wonnum, by the way, had himself a really good game. But I do think that Patrick Jones and guys like Zach McLeod are really going to rise up. Janaris Robinson, I haven't given up yet. The very toolsy Florida State 4th round pick last year. So, I mean, Patrick Jones is going to have himself a phenomenal opportunity to really step up and just really be that rotational edge rusher. And we've seen it. We've seen generations come through of edge rushers for the Vikings. It was Jared Allen and Ray Edwards, and then it was Jared Allen and Brian Robinson, and then it was Brian Robinson and Everson, and then it was Everson and Daniil. Things cycle through. That's how it happens. And I do think that Patrick Jones II is going to have a phenomenal season this year. He's going to contribute. He's going to get after it. And who knows? Who knows what happens with Za'darius and Daniil in the future? Maybe next year or the year after, Patrick Jones II is starting for the Vikings, and he's just getting after it, man. Just love to see it. But your thoughts are thoughts. Patrick Jones II is going to be legit. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.